Ask the Messenger's TV show is a TV show that educates, informs, and entertains our viewers on public health issues. And now, Ask the Messengers.
Today on Ask the Messengers, this month's DWIHN Partnership Series features a one-on-one with Darry Woods Jr. He is a member of the DWIHN Substance Use Disorder Oversight Policy Board. He is here to talk about the role of this board as it relates to substance use disorder. He also is here to share his personal recovery story as well as other community programs that he is a part of now. Plus, Doing Good in the Neighborhood featuring the Back to School Rally held at Greater Grace Temple and Community Huddle and Peace March sponsored by One Detroit at Fellowship Chapel Church. Ask the Messengers begins now. It's always a privilege to be asked to cover the incredible work happening in our community. In our Doing Good in the Neighborhood segment, we bring you highlights for this year's backpack and school supply giveaway that was held at Greater Grace Temple, and a few interviews from the Community Huddle and Peace March sponsored by One Detroit at Fellowship Chapel Church. We also wanted you to know that Darry Woods, our guest for today, has been at the heart of these community outreach efforts.
We got your back. And I want to thank the media too for showing up, Ask the Messenger, because not only did they just show up to film this, to get this out on the social media network, not only did they show up for that, but also they make sure that they get it out on the platform as well.
Tell me a little bit about kind of your hand in this.
Yeah, so it's when we say One Detroit, I mean, it's really everybody. I'm talking about the city. I'm talking about the U.S. Attorney's Office, of course, the Detroit Police Department, the faith base. And when you see the community coming together and we say One Detroit, we really mean it. And so today was a march just to show outwardly to the community that we're not tolerating the violence. Everybody, it's going to take many, many hands to continue to lower it. But we've been out here. And so the U.S. Attorney's Office, along with the whole partnership of the One Detroit, has been working all summer. And so we started right at the beginning of the summer. We know that violence upticks during the summer months. Kids are out. It's hot. Temperatures are flaring. But I can tell you, I'll read some of the statistics really, really quickly as well.
We like statistics.
Yeah, that I just pulled up. So it's on my phone, Detroit. So I'm looking at Chief James White report. And what I can tell you is thus far, year to date, as of today, homicides down 16.2% in the city. And so, as well as our sexual assaults down 16.2%, aggravated assaults down 8%, robberies is a big one. That's down 26%. So our efforts are making a big impact across the city. And so it wasn't always like this. I had 27 years with the Detroit Police Department, and I can tell you that during my career, everybody didn't work together, but this U.S. attorney right here has collectively pulled everybody together. Yes. We're all on the same sheet of music. The Wayne County prosecutor, I'm talking about everybody working for you, Detroit.
The one thing we know is a mother that loses a child never stops grieving, but a mother that's supported by a community to move forward and walk on. And that's what I'm going to do in my son's honor, life, and legacy, and all the mothers, fathers, families that have lost young people. Amen. We're going to do this together. That's the only way we can make it. Yeah. Thank you, community, for supporting. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thanks for asking me to say something about what is essential in our community. It means that people are sensitive, people are concerned about bringing down and eliminating the violence in our community. I commend the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Detroit Police Department, community activists, churches, everybody who's a part of this effort. And it is a community-wide effort. We don't have to live like this. And what it says to the community is that there are people who are concerned about what's happening. They are encouraged to get involved. And it also sends a signal to those perpetrators of violence that people are concerned about it, and we're not just going to sit by and watch you bring our communities down. It also says something to the political leaders that we need them to engage in community. We need them to engage in community by virtue of job creation, by virtue of recreational facilities, by assisting our educational system so that students and young people are motivated to be able to do things that are alternative to violence in the community.
My job as a leader and tasked with keeping the community safe, protecting those in the community, means that I have to come together with so many others for us to achieve that goal. And I'm so proud of all of the people who are out here on behalf of the One Detroit Peace March. Just really thankful for that, because we're trying to make people realize that living in a peaceful community should not be a dream.
Yeah, so my name is Angelique Peterson Mayberry, and I'm currently the president of the Detroit Public Schools Community District Board of Education. So this was extremely important for several reasons. One, this is my church home.
Period.
So walking from Dr. Wendell Anthony Drive, all the way to 6 Mile, but more importantly, to see all of the stakeholders, all of the partners. You know, I often say that people will say, well, I don't have any kids in Detroit Public Schools. You do. You are part of the village. So you have almost 50,000 children in the school district. And, you know, it bothers me when people say, I will pull down my shades and lock my door because I don't want to be a part. But silence is compliance. And so we are no longer being silenced by what we see. And when is enough enough? You know, we saw two mothers out here today who were very transparent with their stories about the loss of their young men and their sons to gun violence. And thank God we have not had incidents in Detroit Public Schools, but we work really hard with all the partners that you saw here today in the community and also our public safety department to ensure that when students come into the schoolhouse, what they don't have to worry about is safety.
The DWIHN Integrated Health Network provides services and support to 123,000 people in Wayne County. DWIHN serves people with mental illness, intellectual and developmental disabilities, individuals with substance use disorders, and children with serious emotional disturbance. DWIHN is the largest and most diverse community mental health agency in the state of Michigan, and it is committed to providing the highest quality of integrated health care to those it serves while working alongside its dedicated and compassionate provider network. Darry Woods Jr. spent his younger years deeply involved in the drug life, which ultimately led to his incarceration at the age of 18. Sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, he spent 28 years behind bars. However, his story didn't end there. Former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder commuted his sentence, allowing Woods to start a new chapter of his life. Darryl, welcome to Ask the Messengers.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about who Darryl used to be and who you are now, and why you're doing what you're doing today.
Absolutely. I grew up in the city of Detroit, and as a young man, I grew up with a mother who was addicted and afflicted by heroin. She had a nervous breakdown after my biological father died. I was in her womb, and her coping mechanism and the pressure that she went through is to run to drugs, and she eventually got hooked on heroin. And my grandmother primarily raised me in the city of Detroit. We grew up in the church. We grew up with a lot of us together in one home. I ended up getting very rebellious and ran away from home and found myself at a very early age connected in the drug trade in the city of Detroit, and eventually got shot at the age of 14, had a child at the age of 16, had another child at the age of 17, and at the age of 18, I found myself incarcerated with life without the possibility of parole. Served 29 years in prison, and while I was incarcerated, I educated myself, got my GED, was able to get some college and be became a part of the Detroit branch NAACP under the leadership of Reverend Wendell Anthony, and the list goes on and on, you know.
Wow, you really have a true story of overcoming all obstacles. And before we go into what you're doing today and why you're doing, let's take a moment. I want you to look in the camera and I want you to talk to some of those young guys out there because, you know, we have this repeat cycle of repeat cycle of repeat cycle. But you were part of a repeat cycle, but look at you now. So can you just share some words to someone right now who may be watching, or a mother who, or let's say a grandmother who is just at her wit's end with her son or her daughter?
I say keep on loving them, keep on praying, and keep on pouring into their lives. And I say to any young person to always remember that the choices we make today is a down payment on our future. We should never put ourselves in a situation like I did as a very young teenager, put myself in a bad situation where I found myself in prison, condemned to die in prison. Serving 29 years in prison I was not at a day camp. This was prison, and prison is a dream killer, and you have to be very, very conscious of the choices that you make, those folks that you're hanging around with, and those the things that you are associating yourself with. I tell you from firsthand that it is absolutely not worth it. When I was there, my mother died while I was there. Both of my grandmothers died when I was there, and so many other loved ones died while I was there. Couldn't go to their funerals. Only thing I could do is get on that steel bunk, put the cover over my head, and cry like a baby. You know, and so you don't want to go through that. You don't want to live like an animal inside a cage, being told what to do 24 hours a day, being strip searched at will. You know, that is not a place for you, young person. And for those who are being patient with our young people, those grandmothers and those mothers, I say, don't throw in the towel. Just keep on loving them. Keep on sowing the seeds.
We'll be right back with more from our DWIHN Partnership Series featuring Darry Woods. Let's fast forward. Now you found yourself on the board at DWIHN. Now, how did that happen? And what encouraged you to even do something like that?
Well, I got appointed by the Wayne County Commission to the board. Absolutely right decision on the county commission part to appoint me. Someone who have been through the system, someone who have seen people addicted and afflicted, and someone who knows the issues need to be on that board. And so we have oversight of the substance use disorder department, and we make sure that we help fund some of the organizations that's doing work in Wayne County that's addressing substance abuse issues, and which is rampant in our community. Our young people are using all kinds of drugs, from Xylylene to pills, Xanny bars, with the Xantax, Percocets, all kind of stuff. And we know all of this stuff is laced with fentanyl. And so it's something very dangerous in our community. And we need everybody to roll up their sleeves to make sure that we are helping our young people and helping to save their lives. And that's why we put a lot of Narcan out in the community. And it's unfortunate. And it's heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching to see the type of suffering that our young people are going through because they run into drugs because they have no hope. And it's our job to be able to make sure that we come up with programs and opportunity and resources to help people get out of that condition. It's definitely a public health crisis. And I'm honored to serve on that board. I'm also appointed by the governor to the State Appellate Defense Commission, which we oversee all criminal appeals in the state of Michigan, and that's recently appointed by the mayor of the city of Detroit to the Detroit Board of Police Commission, in which I just recently got elected to be the chair. You know, so all those things tie together.
Right. So, there's a lot of initiatives within our city, police protection, police things. They're policing more. They're trying to, crime preventions and crime initiatives. Can you talk a little bit about what some of those things that are being implemented right now? And we're trying to make people, like we just did there, the city of Detroit, and what's Dawn Ison, she does the peaceniks, right? And let's talk about how important those things are, because a lot of people in the neighborhood, you know how we are. Oh yeah, whatever. You know how they sitting on the porch, sitting on the porch, sitting on the porch, hey, on the porch.
Yeah.
Let's talk to those people on that porch. Now, they may not be watching this morning, but they may be watching us on YouTube, or somebody that they know may say, hey, you know what? They was talking about you today, or they got some information for you today. Did you know, right? So let's talk about the importance of people understanding who the police are, as it is for protection, not so much as the media just showing the other side. There is a protective piece, and that's why police exists. So can you talk about a little bit of that too?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm so happy to see the culture is changing in many of these police departments, and we got to continue to work at it for sure. But from DWIHN perspective, they have worked with the Detroit Police Department for that matter. The police department and DWIHN working together to respond to some of the crises that's going on in our communities is a new thing. And many departments are being able to have this apparatus. Is vitally important that we train police officers on crisis intervention and on mental health first aid, and send them take on this training and learning more on how to respond to people in crisis is going to save a lot of lives. And this is something that's need to be spread throughout the entire state. It should be a high priority. A lot of people say they don't see some of the same things happen in the city of Detroit that has happened around the country. Although Detroit do have its problems that we are working to continue to make it better. I'm thankful that we do have a Chief White, who is for mental health. He has a degree in it, and he has a sensitivity towards it. And so now, instead of responding to people with just guns, they using more non-lethal methods, as well as bringing in social workers and bringing in DWIHN to be able to address these issues. So that was a great question. It's either we're going to turn to each other or we're going to turn on each other. Or we're going to continue to have the us versus them mentality. It's time to be about we and us. It is time for us to continue to work together. But in order for us to work together, just like you said, folks need to come off the porch. And so I'm happy to work with the U.S. Attorney on some of these, on the peacenik and some of her other initiatives.
We just witnessed peace around the world through the U.S. Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And there was nothing more satisfying to me to see someone like Snoop be that ambassador, and Flavor Flav. And when you look at those two people, I'm sure when you saw that, you saw a lot of yourself, because they too were once, right? They too were once, right? And to see, and what you're doing here locally and what they're doing in their communities locally, that's a beautiful thing. And the more and more we have people like yourself, and I'm glad to know that our chief, understands the mental aspect, and he's not just policing, right? He understands the mental, the mind, and how it works, because he studied it. And that's why when he comes on, he's so genuine. He's really empathetic when he does his press conferences. He's in tears when there's another senseless situation, and you can hear it. And I'm glad that you are there to make sure that he stays that way. He's surrounding himself by people like yourself. Is there anything else that you would like to add that will, that some resources or some information that people, the regular everyday person might even think that's out there for them?
Absolutely. If anyone going through a crisis, they should contact DWIHN, DWIHN Integrated Health Network. There's resources available for you. There's help available for you. And just think about it. We just got out of one of the worst mass shooting in the history of the state of Michigan, in the city of Detroit, where 15 young girls were shot, 2 were killed out of the 21. And so it's vitally important that we come together and work together, come be a part of a program, volunteer for the Detroit Recovery Project, volunteer for DWIHN, or seek out employment in this space. There's jobs available in this space because they need to fill a lot of positions. There's a number of organizations that's within our provider network would love to hear from you. And if you need help, again, go to DWIHN Integrated Health Network to get the help that you need, whether it be you, your loved one, or your neighbor. And I thank Ask the Messengers for spreading this word out, and I thank you guys for being in our community and being a staple in our community.
Darryl is forever grateful to Greater Grace Temple Bishop Charles Ellis and other local ministers, including Detroit NAACP President Reverend Wendell Anthony, for keeping him lifted in prayer and being instrumental in his release and a new way of life that he lives today. It is truly an honor to have interviewed him for this episode. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Ask the Messengers. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you would like to help support our show, please feel free to make a donation of any kind by visiting our show website, www.askthemessengers.org. If you prefer to mail donations, please make check or money order payable to Ask the Messengers TV show and send it to 18400 Schaefer Highway, Detroit, Michigan 48235. Ask the Messengers is the program that deals with things that help you. Thank you for watching.